Hello, everyone. Tracie here, your resident business rebel, and you're listening to Cocktails, Coffee, and Conversations podcast, the show that lets true stories and insider secrets of digital entrepreneur life unfold. Our business world is growing, and as an online business coach and digital product creator, I believe you didn't become an entrepreneur to grin and bear your way through business. So I'll be your guide as we drop in on coaching calls, have intimate sit-downs with online personalities you love, and discuss ideas, opportunities, and strategies circulating our online world. So pop in your earbuds, tap follow, and join me as I demystify this thing called business. Hello. Welcome to Cocktails, Coffee, and Conversations podcast. Tracie here, and I'm coming at you a little hot with today's topic. And it's a coaching episode that's been on repeat for, a few years. So I wanted to share it in a more public venue. And this episode is going to be a bit of a listen now and save for reference later type episode. I lovingly call this concept labeling versus describing. And I unlovingly say, don't do this when you're trying to sell. And this may end up being that little something that makes you go, oh, that's what's been bugging me. That's why I don't like a lot of this sales messaging things and stuff that goes out there. And it's the practice of getting caught up on terms to the point of taking them at face value versus understanding the placeholder purpose they're supposed to serve. So I'm going to dive into a couple of them in this episode, but enough, bashing around. Let's actually dig in to the topic, and let's start with the big two, pain points and objections. Oof. Words often heard batted around sales. Yeah. And with those words often comes, let's call it advice. Like, you must identify these. You must be ready to combat, because apparently everything is an analogy for battle in business. Yeah, that silence was the sound of my eyes rolling. But you see, there's a catch. And this is the part that I want you to hold on to, because those words, they're just labels, okay? They are just shorthand to succinctly capture all the details that we do need to include in our messaging, yeah? They're supposed to serve the same purpose as saying grocery list instead of naming everything you're supposed to get, or saying tech instead of each piece of equipment and software used to run your business. And that's the problem. The shorthand that we use for behind the scenes efficiency has become spotlight wording. On top of that, a lot of people learn about sales from people who don't know and don't understand that these words are actually shorthand labels. So the true meaning gets lost, and it's never explained that these words are just blanket concepts, and everything they actually mean, or what you should be doing when you speak about concepts like pain or objections, just gets kind of wrapped up in negative connotations and those feelings of ugh that we think of whenever we think of sales, right? And we think of like pains and objections and going to battle and trying to fight for money, right? And that just makes us like, oh, can't we just do what we love and not have to do that part? When we truncate our communication, we lose the meaning of what we're trying to say and what we want others to know, right? So the byproduct then is not hitting our business goals, and most importantly, the humans that we want to work with not seeing themselves in our message. So today I'm going to reframe these two for you, using their longer meanings, and share what you should be communicating to describe what you're talking about so people can see themselves in your message. Now, these aren't the only two. I'm just picking on these because they're the ones that get that biggest visceral reaction from people, right? They're the ones that it's like, oh, I hate this part. We go through many labels in like my group coaching and in one-on-ones that I do. And group coaching is actually open again, if you want in, but these two words are so common and they get talked about so often that I want to go deep on them to demonstrate the actual intent and what you can do about it. All right. Now I'm going to make an assumption that you remember your job is to show and demonstrate that you understand where the human you want to work with is coming from and what's going on in their mind to prove you've taken it into consideration. If you're not quite sure how to do that, let me know in the Ask Me Anything box in the show notes, and I can unpack that in an episode as well. Okay? So there are humans you want to work with in your business. To help them make the decision of yes, you, no, you'll use your messaging in all its forms to demonstrate you understand where they're coming from and what's going on in their mind so they can say, yes, I'm in the right place, or no, this isn't the right one for me. Sometimes you blatantly state a type of pain or objection, but most of the time you'll illustrate them. You will always include these concepts in your message mapping because they will inform what you say, when you say it, how you say it. Oh, wait. You might be going, Tracie, I thought I was going to get out of doing this. I thought that was the whole point, was that I wasn't going to have to do these gross things. Ah, but my friend, the work is good. The connotation attached to the words is bad. Yeah. So we're going to understand the work. We're going to understand pain and objections' true purpose so you can decide how to use the concepts appropriately in your business for the benefit of your audience. Yeah? So pain point is the shorthand label for your audience's current situation. That's it. Your audience's current situation. Wow, right? Quite a different idea, huh? So ask this question. What are they running toward or away from? Good, bad, or indifferent? People are searching for a solution because they're heading somewhere or away from something. And research shows people are quicker to move away than towards. So over time, and with the detachment that, supposed sales gurus have from this original meaning, from the actual understanding of what a pain point is, more emphasis has been put on the literal painful part, right? On the negative side. And that's what it has been leaned into so much more because of that. People think literal pain. What is making them cry? What's making them hurt? And that's when a lot of people are like, that is so gross. I don't want that. But your audience decides whether they are going towards something or away from something. It doesn't have to be something that is physically, emotionally, or mentally painful to be a pain point when we realize that a pain point is actually just your audience's current situation. So your audience gets to decide which carries the most weight for them. And even something that is painful, even something they are running away from instead of something they're running towards, can be messaged in a positive frame. All right. So here are 3 things that you can ask yourself anytime that you want to go into, are my humans running towards something or away from something? What's the current physical, emotional, or mental state that your audience is in that your solution, meaning what you're selling, will help them with? What's going on in their world that has added this kind of urgent state of, oh, it's got to change. It needs to be fixed now. And what's going on in the world at large so you can check your tone, okay? So using the answers to these questions, it will inform your messaging. And we can first reflect back on where they're at, then make a direct connection to how what we provide gets them towards or away from their current situation, which is the same thing as when you hear the words solving the problem or giving the desire. Okay? Connecting those dots. So from now on, anytime you see or hear the dreaded pain point, I want you instead to see current situation. And you get to decide what tone that takes, right? Same thing with objections. Objections are all the ways and all the reasons people can say, no thanks. And those reasons, they're multi-layered. They're not always about you, and they can be very diverse, which is also why we pick the most common ones, meaning the ones that reoccur, right? The themes that we see over and over again, okay? Because we also only want to pay attention to the ones that will come up for the people who are the right match for what we're selling. Because if what we're selling isn't right for someone, we want them to have enough information from us and ideally insights into themselves to say no thanks. So we don't pay attention to every single objection in the world, just the ones that if our ideal person, if someone who we know would get an amazing result with what we're selling, if they were to be in front of us and say why they didn't buy, if our reaction was, oh, if I would have known that, I could have fixed it. Okay? Those are the ones that we want to address. That's what we want to think about. Oh, if I would have known that was the issue, I could have fixed it. Addressing objections can be done in a few different ways. We can demonstrate a way through them ahead of time, like showing what it's like to work with you, to work within your system. We can talk about examples of people who have had similar situations and stuff that's come up for them. And how did they work through it? What was their real world, real life experience of being inside of your program, of buying your product, of working with your system, as well as like head on directly naming an objection and calling it out. Like you may be thinking, how can I ever? Well, with insert name, you can do this. So I really want you to think of objections as your human saying, I don't have enough information yet, and this is what I'm worried about. All right? So it's not about validating you, validating the other person. It's not any of those, kind of big, heavy things or even the classic time, money, etc. It's just more, they need more information. And they're looking to see how what you're selling can fit into the world that they currently have going on in all of its beautiful chaos. And is that possible? And what are the reoccurring things that come across to you that people say, that you hear, that you think about, that you're like, oh my gosh, if I would have known that that was what you were worried about, I could have said something, I could have done something, I could have fixed it. Okay? And here's a little bonus tip. It's a bit next level, but it's also a way to bring these two together, right? And to talk about why that use these labels, the concept of pain point, the concept of objection, why they are still important for the business. A top way to get through that, but what about, and how can I, and will this work for me? To work through those, it's actually with your offer. Yep, surprise. Your offer is supposed to be created to directly address the concepts of pain points and objections. It's why top copywriters and sales messaging experts will tell you that your product, what you're selling, and your offer are actually different. So offer is another shorthand label because it brings together the features and inclusions of what you're selling in relation to pain and objections. Okay, so that's three labels that we have to go, okay, hang on, but let's pull these apart. What does these actually mean, right? But we use these to quickly say these sentences, yeah? So how you put all these pieces of what you're selling together and what you include to address the needs, the desires, and present them to the human that they're a match for, so they are so excited to say yes to, that's when you create an offer. Let's call that an offer with a capital O. Right? So this can include a bonus suite, what you include that will give them a win, that will help them through a tricky spot of a digital product or a coaching program, like tech, like guest experts, a deep dive in a complex subject. Or it's something else that they crave to create that irresistible yes and a way they can believe it will work for them. Yeah? That's compiling together an offer with a capital O. Okay? And that's why I needed to include this concept, since it brings home the purpose of pain points and objections, and it aligns them with matching humans to create impact and profit. All right? Because we don't have to leave all of these, sales concepts that have these gross stings, we don't have to leave them that way. We can reclaim their original intent and we can reframe them. We can even create new labels for them, right? If the shorthand and, if the way that people have used them for so long, it just feels almost too late, then we can create new versions of them. That's okay. But I really wanted you to understand this concept and this idea that a lot of times what we get caught up with, what catches us and keeps us from really sharing and spreading what we want to do and the impact we're trying to create and the joy that we bring to the world is actually just someone's misunderstanding of a concept and using a label when really they need to be describing a concept to its fullest. Yeah. And we don't have to let that hold us back, right? We can dig deep. We can go back to its roots. We can figure out what it's really supposed to mean. And we can either then reject it or we can say, oh, okay, now I get it. And this is how I actually want to bring this into my business for the betterment of myself and the humans that I want to work with. All right. So I hope unraveling these labels serves you well. I know I'm just giving you some base information on these. And if you'd like to go deeper, we do inside of the Signature Sales Style program, not for the sake of going to school, but so we can apply the strategies and tactics in our business that make us proud and, and move the impact and the profit needle. And if you want to know more, DM me or visit the links in the show notes. And as always, until the next episode, be well and have some fun.